I normally never do this, but I gave Avatar Fire and Ash 3 one-star reviews on Letterboxd. I was such a huge fan of the first Avatar movie. I saw it 3 times in theaters the week it came out. It felt like the cinema event of my life, and I wasn't the only person that felt this way. For those of you who either don't know or don't remember, James Cameron's Avatar came out during the holiday season of 2009, and it pretty much changed the game. It set the record for the highest grossing movie ever, a title that used to belong to James Cameron's other movie, Titanic. James Cameron saying revolutionizing is kind of a joke now, but at the time, Avatar really was revolutionary. The film used revolutionizing 3D cameras and motion capture technology to create a fully immersive experience. Avatar was nominated for 9 Oscars, including Best Picture, and it won 3: Best Art Direction, Best Visual Effects, and Best Cinematography. Fox greenlit 4 sequels, and Disney opened a theme park attraction in 2017. This movie was a huge deal. So when the first sequel rolled around in 2022, I couldn't wait to go back to Pandora. I saw The Way of Water just like everyone else. I had pretty much the same gripes as everyone else. I thought it was long, tedious, and the characters seemed a lot more annoying without the world building of the first movie to keep us interested. And they tortured these gorgeous whales, and I hate that. I just hate that. Although I did have to admit that whaling was a huge part of human history, and whaling was very, very bad. I believed the film was James Cameron's attempt to spread a message of conservation to the masses. Because yeah, we should totally protect nature. Nature is good for people. It's good for the soul. We literally need fresh air to breathe, and we don't have that without nature. I thought the whole point of Avatar was to protect the beautiful, magical things of Earth. I don't think that anymore. Now, there is an elephant in the room, or rather a giant flying bison named Appa. There's another really big property that's also called Avatar, and that's Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar: The Last Airbender is a Nickelodeon show that ran from 2005 to 2008. To say that this show is beloved would be a massive understatement. It's maybe the best piece of media made during my lifetime, and that's a pretty undisputed opinion. Pretty much no one thinks Avatar the animated series is bad. The live-action movie, that's another story. But in Avatar: The Last Airbender, the main characters can each manipulate a different element: water, earth, fire, and air. So when James Cameron announced that the Avatar sequel was called The Way of Water, look, I never really considered James Cameron's Avatar and Avatar: The Last Airbender to be in the same category. They have the exact same name, sure, and sometimes in a conversation, you might have to tell the other person which one you mean when you say Avatar. But to me, the Na'vi Avatar was one thing, and the cartoon was a completely other thing. And both were great. I loved both. I didn't really compare the two. And then they said the third Avatar movie was going to be called Fire and Ash. I'd started calling it The Way of Lava because there was this sick volcano in the trailer that didn't actually show up very much in the movie. But now we've got The Way of Water and Fire and Ash, and we're getting very close to Avatar: The Last Airbender and the whole elemental thing. And here's my deal. If you're gonna put yourself in the same league as one of the most beloved things in pop culture, you'd better be ready to compete with one of the most beloved things in the culture. James Cameron was not ready. There's no doubt that this movie is a landmark technical achievement. Even as I was making this video, as I broke it down into individual frames, I had to admit that each frame individually was stunning. Usually when you look at a CGI movie frame by frame, the frames separately look like garbage, but this movie wasn't like that. James Cameron really is in a category by himself when it comes to this type of movie, which is why it's so frustrating that the story and characters in this film were so stupid. The emotional center of this movie is in this volcano that we never get to see. Here's my review of Avatar: Fire and Ash. It's so frustrating when a movie knows what will make it compelling and resonant and then does the complete opposite thing. It's also lousy that a franchise once so aware of its spiritual center has now just become a Michael Bay action franchise, albeit one with the best special effects in the universe. The first Avatar was about empathy for nature and other cultures. It worked because the protagonist was just as enchanted by the world as we were. This movie is literally called Fire and Ash. Fire makes ash. Destruction causes emptiness. If this is how James wants to burn down the franchise, congratulations, Jim, you did it. 3 movies in, it just doesn't make sense that the humans would keep building oil refineries in paradise when they can never go home and see all this quote-unquote profit they're so obsessed with. All the humans are single-mindedly greedy, and even Giovanni Ribisi seems bored of this shit. There are no more arcs, no dynamic characters, no real choices, just unlikable avatars digging in their heels and making the same boring decision to fight. Seems like James Cameron is out of the saving the world business and back in the action movie business, except this is a sci-fi movie. It's about blue cat aliens, for crying out loud. But it had so much potential, and like I said, it knew how to do right. The whales say violence will only lead to a never-ending spiral of violence. Duh. Jake knows the Colonel has a choice between his recycled memories and his present experiences, and it's sort of completely illogical for the Colonel to hunt Jake after the military aborts his mission. The Ash people make no sense. What do they eat? Bones? What Varang wants most isn't an equal, it's for Awa to see her. The movie saw all this and then went, no, we're just gonna copy-paste the 3rd act of the first movie, just add water. When a big movie like this comes out, I want it to bring people together, not numb our minds into oblivion. These movies could inspire hope, but they're more interested in calcifying an us versus them mentality for the sake of big boom booms. I wonder if this was the movie Jimmy Jam set out to make. It's undoubtedly the best looking movie of the year, but some of the sound design is so lazy, I found myself thinking, did I hear that one on freesoundeffectswebsite.com? Kudos to Spider for fully owning how stupid this dialogue was. I normally admire how James Cameron's hammy dialogue cuts right to the point, but in this case, there was no point. So there you have it. That's how I really feel about Avatar, Fire and Ash. I am going to say, if you plan to see this movie, go big or go home. See it in 3D, 4D, IMAX, Dolby surround sound. Get it in the biggest, baddest theater experience you can. Personally, I would love if these movies were just 3 hours of whale riding, scuba diving, dragon flights, riding those cool alligator jet skis. The extreme sports are far and away the coolest parts of these movies and the parts that make them feel the most like a ride. It really surprised me to hear that the studio wanted to cut flying out of the first movie and James Cameron had to fight to keep it in. That's another reason I think these aren't really the most pure version of James Cameron's vision, but unless he pulls a Megalopolis, we'll never know for sure. What do you think? Do you think they should make a 4th movie, or do you think James Cameron should write a book as he's been threatening to do if this film doesn't go well? Did you like this movie better? Less? The same as the second movie? How about compared to the first movie? Please leave a comment and let me know what you thought. Thank you so much for coming and checking this out, everybody. I really appreciate y'all. If you got anything out of this video, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. But even if you don't do any of that stuff, I'm so glad you dropped by. Take care, everybody. Cheers.